All right, welcome back to Lionheart Radio with your host, Rick Alexander. Today I'm speaking with Angelo Sisco. He is the host of the Alpha Hippie podcast. He's also got a course on masculinity, which we will get into throughout this episode. But I think as we look around in the 21st century, what it means to be a man and the idea of what masculine energy actually is and what it brings to the table is continuously misrepresented. And at least that's what I've seen through social media, through the regular media, through all of the channels in which we consume information. And I think that as we progress further into the 21st century, the kind of work that Angelo is doing is going to become more and more important. Right now, we are in a time where people need answers and they're searching for answers and they're not getting them from the mainstream. And unfortunately, I think that a lot of people are lost and a lot of people are searching and looking. And Angelo's done so much work on studying and what it means. He's done so much deep work on what it means to be a man that I think he's really positioned himself well for the job. And again, we'll get into what the course entails and all of that throughout the course of this podcast. But I just wanted to take a minute to tell you, like, this is absolutely worth your time. And even if you're not a man, I think that having a clear understanding of what masculine energy is from a woman's perspective is a really good idea. Because I know as a man, having a clear understanding of what feminine energy is and brings to the table and what it's not, then we're better positioned to serve each other and to have a happy world. And I think at the end of the day, that's really what matters. Angelo is one of the kind of people that every single time you get off the conversation with him or get off the phone with him, you feel like a better human being. So I'm super excited to have him back on Lionheart Radio. Without further ado, on to the show.
So I've been watching a lot of men out there, and you and I have referenced this before. People aren't really in a bad place, but at the same time, people aren't really in a great place. And I started taking a look at these people that live this sort of Groundhog Day life, living for the weekends, Monday through Friday kind of style. And I started really looking at their life and wondering why don't they have more, and almost do they even realize that they could have more? And I think that was the bigger piece, was I think people not really appreciating their ability to live a rock star life, and not my rock star life, but the rock star life for them. And that is how this course really came to be. I wanted to figure out how I, really articulate how I went from living a life that was pretty good, and then living a life now that I would venture to say that every cup of my life, with myself, with my relationships, and in my work life, is full. And I wanted to help people realize that you don't just have to win in one area and let the ball drop somewhere else. Like, I see a lot of people, they get a promotion and they want to quit my gym. And I'm like, well, that is the fucking way you'd be fucking fat and rich. I mean, and it's just this ass backwards mentality. Or it's like, I'm gonna get a girlfriend and I'm gonna start not taking care of myself, or not going to work right, or doing good work, and just really getting people to realize that these three facets of life, your relationships, yourself, and your work, could be kick-ass in all of them. And I want to help people see that.
Do you think that we're conditioned to believe that we can't have it all?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, even say that saying. People have said it, can't have it all. It's a very programmed thing. It's something that's not ridiculous, or, well, at least he's got this going for him. And if something drops, why can't everything just be kick ass? Or why wouldn't you want to die trying that way? It just makes me feel like it's such a shitty life that people could live not having everything be amazing. Why wouldn't you try to do that? And I think what happens to a lot of people is they start realizing first that a lot of their relationships they can't keep because they're not so great. That was the first thing a lot of people realized, that a lot of these relationships around them were toxic or not serving them to be their best self, and they really shouldn't be in them anymore. And I think that's where people start worrying about depth instead of width.
And you've seen that in people that have taken your course? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and even people just talking to people. So I came up with this idea for this course based on these frustrations. And then I started thinking about, okay, I'm going to talk to people. And I'm so fortunate that I have a gym of 100 men that are fitting this life idea, and I could just ask them questions. And it doesn't need to be like me with a notebook and a sheet of paper, but it's just as simple of looking at someone's body language and then talking to them about their day and hearing how they're just working, or they don't have time for this, or they're struggling in their relationship. And I just started like really putting this together from there.
It is interesting that we all feel like we have to accept this sort of, I don't know, like low level malaise in life. But, one of the things I would say as a counterpoint to this is like, well, you only do have a limited amount of bandwidth. And so does it make sense for you to focus on all things?
I hear what you're saying. I'm saying that I think that you should limit what you consider all things and just make sure that all those things that you limit them to are rock star. I don't want to have a relationship that I don't feel good about.
Right.
And
So
that's what I'm getting at. It's just depth.
I love that. So it's like if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well.
Yeah, like why would you want to have a shit relationship with your parents if you could help it? Like why would you just be like, yeah, it's just the way it is? Like for what?
Right.
What a waste. I'd rather not even talk to them than have a shitty one. And I think, it takes courage to be like that. And I think one of the biggest, the more and more I think about masculine development is your ability not to be passive is coinciding with your greatness. Like if you're passive, you're not doing great shit. You're not really succeeding. It's this idea of men today have become quite passive in their ambitions even. Yeah. And I think that it's such a shame. And I'm really hoping that I can make a difference with people.
And so, you're talking about like men today. And so I know that you've taken a look at the development of men throughout history, and that's gone into some of the curriculum of what you're doing. And that really interests me. Do you think that this is a new issue that we're struggling with today? Like, is this not something that we would have struggled with 100 years ago, or what does that look like?
I honestly believe that we are fortunate enough to struggle with this today. So stay with me on this idea. In the 30s and 40s, after the Depression, men were going to war and they were trying to survive their lives, just to make a living here. Okay. Then what they wanted for their generation, the baby boomers, was security. That's why a lot of people were taught, you go to college, you get a job, you get a pension, and you die, you retire. This is your life.
Yep.
And then what kind of happened was the next generation was like, okay, we got some security, and this is like sort of where we get in this, and even some of the hippier, like early 80s and stuff like that, like we were like, all right, we have security. We're not too worried about that. Now we have some freedom to work on some other things. And this is why I think it's coming up, is because me and you aren't starving. We're never going to starve. I mean, we got it, right? And maybe I don't have enough in retirement savings yet, but that's not what I'm about. And so I think this is just we're fortunate enough to be exposed to this. I think it's been there for a while, for many generations. I just think now that people are, at least in the last 100 years in America, are able to be able to pay attention to this because we have all the other things.
Yeah. So if you look at like Maslow's, his hierarchy of needs, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but most of us sort of learn it in Psychology 101 and then we just let it go and memorize it for whatever we have to. But it's actually quite profound because at the top of that is self-actualization, and that's what you're talking about. And it's this idea that as needs are met, you're free to focus on what's next. Well, the very top of that pyramid, after all of your needs are met, once survival is unlocked, you are then free to pursue self-actualization. So the things that you are saying are very rooted in psychology and what we know about the human psyche.
For real. And just like you said, the Maslow, and then just taking a look at America and where people are now. Like if you're really strapped about things financially in America, I'm willing to bet that you just spend too much money and have too many things that you don't need.
Oh man, you should say that again. I want people to really think about that.
All right. So I said in 2018, if you're really strapped for money and you think you need money and that's what you're chasing after, you have too many things that you don't need, or you have too big of a nut to pay for, and you need to get rid of your car and live in an apartment, a small place. Like seriously. Yeah.
So, how does somebody, because there's a lot of people in that situation, and I don't know, I didn't necessarily know the conversation would go this way, but if you're thinking about it, if you're in this situation, well, how do you start changing that tide?
I think you need to really take a look at what is going to matter right before that last breath before you die.
Yeah.
and being in touch with that. And I was telling somebody this the other day is for a man specifically, and I know that you have female listeners, but I think for a man, because this is my area that I'm super passionate about, the thing that separates besides that passivity is the more long-term you're thinking as a man, the better decisions that you're going to make, because you're going to have decisions that are rooted in discipline and forward thinking, not short-term emotional bullshit.
Mm.
And if you really think the person's going to really like you more or less because you're driving an Escalade, sorry, you're just an asshole. I love you very much, but you're an asshole. Like, it doesn't really matter before you die. And for me, I have a 1-bedroom apartment that's $795 a month for rent. You know what my favorite part about this apartment is? I never have to worry about paying rent.
Yeah. Yeah, and like that's important because it's a thing that doesn't even enter your sphere of thought.
Yeah, it's never a question if we're paying our bills, me and my wife.
Right.
It's like, we got it.
Right, which is quite profound because a lot of people legitimately struggle with that every month.
Absolutely. I think too, Rick, I think a lot of people need to decide, like for me, I said this to a friend of mine maybe a month ago, is my drug of choice is freedom.
Mm.
I love not having the feeling of anything is owning me or shackling me in any way.
Same.
And that's just in my spirit. And to me, I could have bought a house because that's what you do when you get married, and all that shit. And I could have a $1,500 a month mortgage and taxes, and I could be stressing out about if I want to go out to dinner this weekend or not. But I said, forget that.
Mm. And so, I like that because you're bringing to light this idea that you're actually identifying the things that serve you and that you are actually focused toward in your life. So things that you value, I guess would be the best way to put that. So for people that are thinking about this, like I guess like the person that you described at the beginning of the show, I think what I'd like to do throughout this process is figure out a way for them to start bridging that gap between living a life that's in accordance with what they value, which is what you're doing now, and living this life of low-level malaise of not knowing what to do. And then I think further, we'll talk at the end about the course that you've launched that people can sign up for that will actually help them, get the tools to bridge this gap. But just as you're thinking about, like, what are some of the ideas that you've came upon that's a good place to start for people?
Wow. All right, so the first thing that comes to my mind is this idea of identities. And not so much that you could wear them and have them, but just living only solely through them. And as soon as I realized that if O'Hare CrossFit fails tomorrow, that doesn't mean I'm a failure, I felt really good. And as soon as I realized that if I'm having a fight with my wife and I'm not being a good husband, that doesn't mean Angelo's a complete piece of shit. And this idea of there's a layer of identities. I'm a son, I'm a father, whatever, a husband, a business owner, all these hats. But just realizing that above that, there's a core layer that just is Angelo the man and Rick the man. And we wear those hats, but they're technically not ours either. My wife could leave me tomorrow, or you know what I mean? You don't really own any of those hats. And I just started focusing on the one hat that I owned was me.
Mm.
And I think too many times we get caught up in somebody looking at us in a certain way that feeds our ego, and then we think we have to live there.
Yeah, and one of the inherent problems, I've sort of delved into this a little bit in my newest book, but it's like this idea that if you wrap your identity up in something that's ephemeral, you are by definition like fucking yourself over later because that thing is going to go away because that's what ephemeral is. And so if the way that you garner meaning in your life and your identity is wrapped up in something that can go away, like you mentioned, it's like it can even seem solid like your wife. But that person can leave you. It happens every single day to people. And so no matter how sure of a thing it seems, it's not you. You are the only thing that you actually have dominion over.
That's it. You own your body.
Yeah.
And your heart. Everything else is on rent.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think probably some of the difficulty in this is that it's good in theory, but when you start sort of stripping away all of the other things that you place your identity in, you start to feel like you're not worthy of this life. I think a lot of people, they don't want to place all of their hope in just themselves because they inherently feel like they're not good enough.
Yeah, I would say you living this kind of life is assuming a very, very large amount of responsibility because now you have no one else to blame. You can't. It's nobody else's fault. It's just your fault. And I have to say though, if anyone is not able to be there, I just think you need to really question yourself that if you were writing the script for the movie of your life and you were the actor, so now you get to be the writer, why wouldn't you want to be the fucking hero?
Right.
You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you want to be the rock star of your life? You don't need to worry about Tom Brady being the rock star of your life. You just be the Tom. You just be it. You be the fucking guy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, 100%. I think everybody listening to this is like, yes, fuck yeah, I want to be the hero. But the knowledge of that and the application of that are not necessarily always related. And so I think it's like great in theory, and I'm somebody that like really agrees with this sentiment, and I've like really strive to live my life this way. I think that most of the people that are living in this life of quiet desperation, there's an application issue. It's not that they don't know that that's what they need to do. It's that like once they start to make these decisions, they're confronted by the ego and by the fears of this world and all of the insecurities around screwing up and all the fears around stepping into the unknown. And it seems like that might be where a lot of men are sort of cowering back.
All right, so I came up with this idea, and I think it's genius, and I hope you do too, at least Rick, and then definitely at least one listener. So
We'll
every
get one.
time, okay, I hope I get one. Okay, so anytime something comes up in your life that triggers you, pisses you off, brings you to your knees, anything that throws you off this idea of being center, you have, in my opinion, the best options is this. One, you need to look at it as if it's a projection. Is the reason that you're pissed off is because you're projecting on someone. And I don't care who you are, that little bitch jealousy pops up for a split second in all of us for some sort of reason or any sort of thing like that. You need to look at it as like, is the reason this thing is pissing me off is because it's a projection of a quality about me that I need to improve. So you look at yourself. And then the second thing that you need to look at is your level of skill. So anytime I have, and this is particular in business, but definitely in your relationships, any single time you are in a relationship and something is not going your way, it is because you did not have the skill to make it go the way that you really wanted to. You're lacking in skill. So either you need to develop yourself or you need to develop a skill in either relationships or business systems or what. But either way, you need to just look at yourself in those ways. And for me, if you're trying to be the hero of your story and you keep bumping up against something and you think it's because and you look at it as something that is not good for you, I challenge you to look at it in a way, am I projecting on this or do I just need to sharpen my sword to get to the next level of the video game of life?
Mm.
And I've just been thinking about that every single time something pisses me off and throws me off center.
All right. So this is gold. I feel like this is fucking awesome, actually.
There's one.
Yeah, there's one. Somebody else right now is just thinking about some shit they've been projecting. That's what I wanted to get into a little bit. So can we break that down a little bit? So when we talk about this idea of last week's episode, we actually talked about this idea of leaning in toward resistance that you feel in life. Where would you see that show up to make this a little more realistic for people, or a little more so that they can picture it? Where would you see some projections in somebody's life start to show up?
Okay, so for me, part of this persona of Angelo that I carry when I get into my ego in business or work or anything is this idea of being the alpha and the number one in the room. It's honest. It's part of my shadow, but it's also a part of my greatness. So I love it just in the same. So when I meet another like CrossFit gym owner, the first thing that I think about is, does this guy, like, who does the fuck does this guy think he is? Like that is like the knee jerk reaction. Still, no matter how profound and amazing I get, that is just a rooted thing in me because I grew up where if somebody else was on the block and they thought that they were the man, I was going to make sure that they knew I was. Mm-hmm. And that's just a big projection. So if they're charismatic and they have influence and people want to follow them, I'm talking about myself, but I just want to cut that guy's head off because it's not all me or something silly like that.
Yeah.
And I think that comes up for a lot of reasons, man. I'm a man. If I walked into my room and my wife was looking at another man on Instagram, I'd want to cut that guy's fucking head off. But meanwhile, I just want 6-pack abs like him or some shit like that, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And that to me is what projections are. And so anytime you could look at someone and just feel that, for me, I feel it in my gut, like my temperature rise in my gut. Like I could even make a snarl thinking about it. Like when I feel that, I just start looking at it. Instead of me going, that's a threat, I start going, why would I make that such a big threat? And to me, that's projecting.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's perfect. I think everybody listening to this should just take a minute, put it on pause, and think about the areas that you feel a visceral reaction to, because there is certainly something there, and it's like you might have to really dig deep to figure out. You have to pull that thread for a while sometimes to figure out why it is that you're having a reaction toward an industry or a person or a thing in your life. But it's not insignificant. Leaning into that could be a huge answer for you in changing your life. And so I think that it's great that you brought that part up.
Yeah, and also too, people that are digging into this, it doesn't always need to be profound Buddhism. Like you could find a little something. It's you know what I mean? It's not always this hugely profound thing that you would have never thought about. It's probably this little thing that you probably thought about 80,000 times, but you just couldn't connect it to anything, but now you can.
Have you always been, and this is just more a question, personal question for you, but have you always been pretty intense about life? You seem very like passionate about these ideas. And one of the things that I've started to realize is that all these high performers that I know in life, they tie passion and emotion into what they're doing in the best possible way. Like they're not a victim of their emotions, but they leverage their emotions and they're really intense and passionate about the things that they care about. And I'm curious, what was sort of the catalyst that got you to be this way, or have you always sort of been like just really passionate about like life and sort of developing potential in life?
No, I'll tell you this story. So one, I just want to say this too, so people know this. I am super passionate and super intense about life, and it gets me kicked in the dick just not as often, but often enough that I make mistakes. I am emotional. I am emotionally fragile at moments. I want to scream. I want to yell. I want to do all those things, and sometimes that gets the best of me, and I do that too. I don't want people to think that I'm some like guru sitting on a pillow killing it, dude. I fuck up all the time. I fuck up with my wife all the time. I did this weekend, and at the gym with my employees, with people that go to the gym. I mean, I say things that I shouldn't, and just when you think about passion, to me, it's anger and love balled together. And you either put that on a paintbrush and you're a genius, or if I flip out on you, I'm an asshole. I don't know what to make of it, but it's just the truth.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, Rick, when I was a young boy, when I was 12 years old. So I had my first job when I was 10 years old. I cleaned up a barber shop down the block from where I grew up. And when my dad was away, he told me, he said, Ange, you got to start making your own money, because my father was in prison. He's like, you got to make your own money. You got to take care of yourself. And I had one job, and then I got to be 12 years old. So 2 years into this job, and he's like, Ange, it's time that you get another job. And so I called this local deli up in my neighborhood every day for 2 weeks because my dad told me I needed a job. And I remember this like it was yesterday. Then my dad called up, and he was so pissed at me that I didn't find a job because he didn't think I was working hard enough to find the job. He told me that I couldn't have a sleepover with my friend unless I went and found a job. So I hung up the phone. I was so pissed off. I wanted to sleep at my friend Gabe's house. My mother drove me to this deli. I walked in and look at this man in the face, and I said, my name is Angelo Sisco. I've been calling you every day for 2 weeks. I really need a job, and I'll do really good work for you. Will you hire me? And he said, yeah. And I just worked in the back of this little deli. Like, I mean, and for me, it was just to make my dad happy and so I could sleep on my friend's house. So I don't want people to think I was this courageous. I just justified it that way.
Yeah.
So I got this job working for this man, Danny. Come to find out, when he was a kid, his father was in prison. He found out my father was in prison. This man took an amazing liking to me. And one day he asked me to clean a floor, and there was a big fridge with rollers on it. And when I cleaned it, I didn't move the fridge, and I cleaned like around it. I cleaned half-ass, right? And he saw that and he grabbed me and like aggressively grabbed me, and he told me, he said, I don't give a shit if you fucking clean toilets the rest of your life. They better be the prettiest motherfucking toilet you ever fucking clean. You better take pride in everything that you fucking do, because it's a sign of you. And ever since then, I just feel like everything that you do, the way you tie your shoes, the way you start your car, the way you fucking clean your car, is just a reflection of you. And I play that game with myself. And the crazy thing about me playing this game all day is life gives you infinite amount of chances to make yourself proud.
Yeah.
Every day. And that's like grabbing the one thing that you could leave in the car from the grocery store and not. I mean, it's that minute. That's how much I play this in my brain. In all these instances, if you do one less rep in a workout, if you half-ass one little thing that you should have done. And to me, I just think like, man, when I do that, it makes me so proud of myself. Why wouldn't I keep trying to make myself proud? And that's really the song that's playing in my head. And that's where I think a lot of this idea of having everything in your life be amazing and you take pride in it, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is I'm just thinking about this as you're saying it. The fact that every opportunity in life is a chance to make yourself proud is actually an opportunity for the opposite as well. If you forego that, taking that experience in the right way, or taking on that burden. And I think that's probably to blame for a lot of discontent and people feeling disconnected from their lives, because they're unconsciously making all of these decisions that aren't making them proud. It's not framed like that. And so they don't really know why they're not so proud of themselves and why they have this low level self-loathing going on.
I love it. Yeah, I think people don't know it. And the thing is, too, is no one knows when you make yourself proud but you. It's like, it's this satisfaction feeling. It's like the mixture of coming, eating a beautiful meal, and falling in love all in one.
Every time you pick up garbage on the street.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking great. I mean, to me, that's how it feels. It just feels like that such satisfying feeling in your heart. And that's why I'm just crazy about it. I just want to make myself proud. I want to make my wife proud. Like that was in my wedding vows. Is the reason I married you is because you're the first person besides myself that I've ever wanted to make so proud. That was like in the vows.
Yeah.
And I think you should just be making yourself proud.
Yeah, that's powerful. Is most of your like coaching and the way that you sort of work with people to start creating a different life for themselves, is it through awareness? Because that seems to be a central theme in a lot of the things we're talking about, is sort of just generally like setting things up in your mind so that they are a game, so that you have a better way of navigating things. You're just becoming aware of all of the decisions that you're constantly making. At least that's sort of a theme I'm picking up on while we're talking.
Yeah, absolutely. So to me, the first two things I talk about is people being aware of everything that they do. And then secondly, realizing that we are humans and that we are made of clay, and you could completely rewrite your script and rewrite your brain wiring tomorrow morning. And I think that's such a big thing that people need to know is tomorrow morning, I could be an axe murderer. And tomorrow morning, I could be a hero. Or like, you get what I'm saying? And I think people don't realize that every single day, you could decide tomorrow to write a new script, and you could create a whole new story based on everything that you want, not what someone else gave you or told you.
Yeah, you could, but I think that people don't. I don't know. I guess it just doesn't seem real for people. It seems like a very, abstract thing, which is why I like all of these different thought experiments that you're bringing up today, because it does allow you some structure around that idea of recreating yourself. Because when you tell somebody like, well, look, tomorrow's another opportunity to be a rock star, to be the hero in your own story, you're like, I got it, but I got bills to pay, and like I got kids that need me, and I got, responsibilities at work, and I don't know what's going on in my 401k, so I got to check that out. You know what I'm saying? And so all of these like life things sort of creep into the equation and get in the way of you being able to facilitate that life for yourself.
Yeah, but I want to say this, and this is something that I talk about in the course, and I've done a talk on this in California on it. I'm really passionate about this. We, as humans, we do everything for an emotional response. It is rooted in that, whether or not you like it or not. And so sometimes, when people aren't aware of this, or they're thought that, man, emotions don't matter. No, really, that's why we do our stuff. And to me, when you want to change your life, You don't start with the outcomes. You start with the emotional and quality traits that you want to have, because I could act confident right this fucking second. I could live in integrity right now. I don't need a car or a business or to quit my job to have any of those things. And I think people are planning this backwards. Like when you think about your life, people plan the outcomes first. And to me, outcomes is the fourth step. The first thing is like your emotions and your thoughts. Then you have your actions. Then you make habits. And then you have outcomes. So why are you planning the physical thing first? Think about the person that you want to be and start acting like them today. So if you're just a guy that's really kind, I want to be kind. You could be kind today. You could be loving at this moment.
Yeah.
And I think what people are trying to do is they're putting that out there. But no, it's emotions. I have my biggest core values is integrity, discipline, consistency, which I think is the most underrated, most beautiful thing anyone could possibly be, passion, and love. It doesn't matter if being with my family, if I'm being at work, if I'm being with my wife. That is the lens of my life. That's what I want people to say about me when I die. And so I act that way. I don't need anything external to make me act that way. And so that's how I think about when people want to say, I got my kids, I got my family, all this stuff. You could start acting like the rock star that you are right this very moment, buddy. Close your eyes and play make-believe if you'd like.
Yeah. So that's super powerful, and that's squarely puts the ball in the hands of the person that wants to change their lives. And that's what's important. When you're thinking about the sort of virtues that you just went through, or do you believe that if people are looking to do this in their own life, do you believe that, I mean, in a sort of moral relativism where you can sort of create what's important to you and then live your life based off that? Or do you think that virtues are sort of unchanging? Like where does that shake out for people?
This is a great question. So here's my thoughts on this. Is I believe deep down all the virtues are the same, but the way I think of a word and the way you think of a word are completely different. So the very beginning of this course, so my one of the things that helped me really make this course from a curriculum perspective is one day I was talking to a friend of mine, we were in a sauna just hanging out, and I go, you know, buddy, life is the business of yourself.
Yep.
And I was like, you know, if we were businesses, the first thing that we would do is write a mission statement and core values. We wouldn't be worried about anything else. We would make sure we knew that first. That's step one business plan. And so for me, that's what I want people to do is like you just write it the way you want to write it. And at the end of the day, if you really introspected what we meant in words, we would probably be really close. But also, too, the way I think of a word can be completely different how someone else thinks of a word. And that's why there's miscommunication and conflict, I believe, a lot of the times, is that I could say a word that could completely get taken out of context because it's a hot button for someone else. And so for me, I think you write your own because they have to make you feel something. I don't care if you think consistency doesn't mean anything. I think it's cool as fuck.
Right.
And so I think it's everyone needs to do it individually and live up to your story or your words that fire you up. If I thought, Rick, me and you hung up and you texted someone and said, I just talked to Angelo, he's the most passionate, crazy motherfucker ever, and he lives in so much integrity, it would make my day. But you could say that in another way, and I probably wouldn't be affected by it. And that's why I think it needs to be your own words.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. I actually agree with you completely. I think that meaning, deriving significance and meaning in your life is such an individual pursuit that the things that you value, the way that you live your life within those values has to be intrinsic to you, which is why, it's an individual pursuit. And that's why you can't just shove yourself into the metrics that the world around you wants you to live by. And that's why it feels empty once you attain those metrics.
I agree. And I will say this too. I think enough people who are teachers and healers aren't out there saying that our job is to hold up the mirror and put you in such a amazing position where you have to finally see the truth. And that's all we really do. I don't want you to live like me. I want you to live like you. And I think more teachers need to go out and say that we just hold mirrors. We're not We're nothing more than that. We have a little bit more experience. Sure, absolutely. That's why we could hold up the mirror. But at the end of the day, I just want to hold up the mirror to as many men as possible to help them realize what they could really be. And that's what they want to be, not what I want them to be.
Hmm. And so this course that you're kicking off January 14th, this is sort of the idea behind this course.
Yeah, absolutely. My big vision for this, Rick, is Alpha Hippie Masculine Mastery becomes a amazing course that helps men, and I want to create a tribe of men that want to help and support other men be strong and be their best self. I really want to create just a really cool world of people that I want to hang out with, because I want to know that the people I hang out with are about being better men.
Dope. All right. So my quick question, just for the people that are listening to this, is there a reason that you, and there doesn't even have to be, but is there a reason that you chose men, or like when we look at men versus women, do you believe that they're fostered differently, the characteristics, the energy is fostered differently, or where?
Great question. So one, I journaled about this, what frustrates me. And I don't know if it's and please forgive me, if it's my upbringing that feels like there should be more of an emphasis on men being strong men. And that's one reason. And the other reason is I'm a man, and I've went through a journey of insecurity and questioning myself and doubt and all that stuff. I can't relate to what it's like to be a mother and have a child. Why should I ever try to teach them? That's my thoughts. Like the things that women struggle with and the women go through, I'm not fit for that right now. I don't know if I'm ever going to be, but I know right now I'm not fit to teach it. So I'm not going to try to pose as I'm just a healer for everyone. It's just, I'm a man. This is the suit I've been wearing for 35 years, and I feel like I could help them the best.
Okay. Yeah, that's super important. I mean, even for people that are thinking about this, that have their own pursuits, it's like, it sort of goes with your whole theme, the idea that you'd operate authentically in what you value, what you know, shows that you're rooted in your purpose and authenticity. Because one of the things that happens when we don't know our path, when we're not aware of it, is that we say yes to everything and we try to be everything to everyone. And you see it in businesses all the time. You end up talking to everyone, so you end up talking to no one. And so it's just further, just from listening to this, it's further proof that you are living within authenticity. The fact that you actually are so well aware of your demographic and who you're trying to serve, and that you are well aware of who you're not trying to serve in that same time.
Yeah, I mean, I really believe that. And to me too, Rick, feeling is understanding. And you know what I mean? I'm limited in what I could feel.
Sure.
I can't, you know what I mean? And I'm sure I could become more empathetic and more compassionate, but I still can't feel what it's like to be a woman.
Yeah. Right.
I just can't.
Right.
I just can't. And anybody that is, I just feel like we're guessing. We don't know. We're giving advice. We're giving more educated advice. I get it, but I don't know what that is like.
Yeah, it's like this idea that you have somatic intelligence about being a man. You could learn about being a woman from a book scholastically. You could, right? But that embodiment of the knowledge to make that intelligence somatic, it's like there has to be a feeling associated with it. There has to be an application at some point.
Yeah, at least that's for me. That's how I really learn. Like I said, feeling is understanding. Like, I could watch something, but the second I do it and feel it and move around in it, specifically like physical movement or even like learning. Like I think like I'll read a book and then I won't read a book for a month because I want to go feel what this book says. And like that to me is when I start learning it. Like, it used to be when I was a kid, my parents used to laugh at me because I didn't take their word for it. I had to go do it myself to their demise and their, disapproval. But it's just the way I learn the best.
So I don't know that you use these exact same words, but when you look at some of this watered down masculine energy that we have in the world today, which is clearly, one of the reasons that you're stepping up to build this kind of a curriculum, what are some of the ways that we're seeing, what are some of the worst outcomes of this watered down masculine energy? Like, how is the world suffering because of this, at least in your opinion?
Oh, wow. I think we touched on this before, but I'm going to get back to it. I know it's a hot topic. I feel like a lot of things with feminism is you are seeing poor masculine energy being played. And I think it's because it was played poorly. I think people took advantage of women. I think men took advantage of their power. I think all of those things are true. And I think that is one great place to really think about that. Like, why? Not that women wouldn't have grown. And I don't want people to think that by any means. But the outrage about it, I think, is because we just didn't know who we were, and we weren't confident enough to go, you know what, hun, if you really want to, I don't mean hun in the district, but wife, if you want to go work, yes, you could go work. I will help you grow and be a better woman. I would love for you to have your cup full, because I couldn't imagine what that is like for me as a family. But no, the man's like, yeah, I don't want her to make more money than me, so I'm definitely going to make sure we build a business that doesn't pay her less, and then we're going to make sure that she has to wear a skirt and be a secretary. Like, I think we played ourselves into this corner, and then now we're just taking it, across the face in so many directions because we've been so bad for so long.
Yeah, you're right. We did talk about this in the last episode, but it is that it's like the weakest manifestation of masculine energy possible had led us down this road of having a totally misguided connotations of what it means to be a man.
Absolutely. This desire for power and control, all these, when you really get these things down, like people that are about that, it's all rooted in fear and insecurity.
Yeah.
And I think that to me is like the biggest manifestation of this. And you see it all the time in really slight different ways. Like, if I'm ever out and I'm with another couple with my wife, and I see the wife make a joke to the husband that, isn't really that funny, or like not be on his side, like in front of people, I want to cry. I think that's like the one of the most taboo things you could see, but it's like become part of our culture to like, it's my old ball and chain, or this is, and he's hunting and he's golfing all the time. Like all that shit.
Yeah. Like this 90s sitcom, like archetype of like what a man-woman relationship is.
Yeah. And think about that. Think about how crazy is that the person that you committed your entire life to, there's no one else but you. You said that, is shitting on you in front of other people. Oh my God. I couldn't even imagine it.
Yeah.
I would be so embarrassed. And I just think that that's become a part of our life where people aren't even embarrassed or even awakened to that anymore. And you could hear this in my voice. I'm just passionate about this. I think that this, and I'm not saying that something has to go backwards either. I think there needs to be a new paradigm for men and women by all means. I'm not saying that it has to be 1960. I'm just saying that we need to be better, and this is where it's showing up in our life, in our society.
Yeah, so we did the last episode in this one a little bit. We've talked about some of these downfalls of the masculine sort of archetype. When you think about masculine energy, how is it best manifested? Like, what are the best qualities in being a man? Like, what are the qualities that we're actually striving for through this course and through this sort of self-discovery process?
Taking responsibility, thinking long-term, fully understanding and feeling the range of emotions that are available.
That's a hard
one. Not disguising them that come out in a way that the society has allowed you to do it. Yeah. In like anger or anything like that, right? And so taking responsibility, the emotions, and I would just say courage. It takes courage to own yourself and not try to own the entire world. And you said this, I don't know if you said this on my podcast or when we were talking, like, it's your job to do your best work and the rest isn't up to you. The rest is up to the universe. And to me, that's like, when you think of courage, that is like the epitome of courage. Like, people want to talk about, like, from my Italian culture, like having balls. There's nothing ballsier than saying, this is who I am, and it's not up for anything else. Anything else that I do after just being me is up to me. And not trying to own everything and shape everything and get mad at things and undermine things and cheat things. It's just, to me, it's like the most courageous way to live your life, because it's so easy not to.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's definitely easy. I mean, this something you just brought up, like the courage to own yourself and not the world around you, is like, that is gold. That is so fucking difficult for people to do, because, one of the things that's interesting, like that I've become aware of, is like this idea that we're all just building sandcastles. Like, it's all going to go away. Like, anytime that you try to own something in the material world that's not yourself, you're putting an undue pressure on the relationship with that thing. And that is causing so much anxiety and just detriment to your quality of life around your relationship with that thing. But the reality is it's not meant to be owned. It's going away just like every other thing that's around us in ephemeral.
And addictions.
What do you mean by that?
I think when people have addictions, um, like, so if they're unhappy with something and they don't realize that, like they're fighting to keep this to live in this big house or whatever, they develop different addictions to make themselves forget about that unhappiness.
As a pacifier.
As a pet, porno, it could be anything, sports. When I'm watching these people with their fantasy football leagues giving up 10 hours a day on a Sunday, are you nuts? Are you
Right.
nuts? You know what I mean? Just like stuff like that, but you don't realize that. But what you're doing is you found something to numb the fact that you're pissed off. And so you use it. And the sick part is some people use things that quote unquote people think are healthy.
Like what?
Like, I think some people exercise not to test and see what their body could do physically. They exercise so they could forget about themselves.
100%.
And like, when you think about what that is, and so what they do is, if I went on here and said I worked out 7 days a week, I took out I take off 1 day a month the rest of my life, people would be like, yeah, Angelo knows how to get after it. Let's applaud this. But in reality, it's probably rooted in some masochist, I hate myself kind of fucking thing.
Yeah.
And so what people don't realize is, I think addictions is, you could disguise them as quote unquote good things and never realize that that's what you're doing with them.
Yeah, it's really important to have some introspection around your activities to make sure that you're not turning the thing you love into escapism.
Yeah, I struggle with that. I did that with working out for years.
I'll say I do it for sure.
Yeah. And just realize like, take 3 days of working out, like off working out, and just see what goes on in your brain. Here we go. I work out 6 days a week. If I miss and I only do 5, you should hear the negative self-talk. It's scary as fuck.
Yeah.
And just think about that. Like, what that is what am I using that really for then?
And so in your personal situation, how do you balance that? Because, it does when you're using it for escapism, it is putting the pressure on the relationship between you and your health in a pretty shitty place. You're not sort of acting out of what the best intentions would be for your health or for the best possible outcome. How do you balance that in your own life, knowing that health and fitness is such a big part of it, and it has to do with your mental clarity and all these things, and at the same time you don't want to be owned by it? Is it just something you stay aware of? Or
So right now, my biggest obstacle or level that I'm working on for me is this idea of forgiving myself and developing compassion for myself. My wife and I were talking about a month ago and just hanging out. She's like, what does it feel like to be Angelo Sisco? And I said, the first thing I said was hard. And the second thing I said was unforgiving. And anyone that knows me that I've ever had outlash with, could you just imagine if I did that to you, what I'm saying to myself most of the days? And so just really what I'm working on for me is becoming compassionate to myself and forgiving myself for not being this quote unquote superhero that I want to be so bad, and realizing that I'm human too. And that's what I'm working on. And that's when I take an extra day off of fitness. It's just learning how to develop compassion to it. And then like almost coaching myself through it to realize after the next day that it's not that bad and that you're okay. And like, finding safe ways for me to do that. And that's what I've been trying to do, is create sort of quote unquote layup instances where I could face this idea of not being compassionate to myself, farewell knowing that I'm going to get through it, so I could rebuild this neuroplasticity in my brain that I could be compassionate to myself and nothing's going to go wrong and the world's not going to fall apart and people aren't going to find out I'm a phony teacher and nobody's going to want to talk to me. And like, this is the thing that goes on.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying, like I said to you before, like earlier, it's like we're made of clay. We could program ourselves out of this. You just have to do it and make little things where you could almost like lay yourself up to get through it so you could build confidence in it.
So the course that's launching on January 14th, you've actually run the beta program already, and you and I had talked about some of the results from that program and how it's been so much better than even you had originally imagined. Is there anything that has come up in this program or in this process working with people that have already gone through it that you were like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming, or anything like
Yes.
that you'd like to share?
Can I read this to you?
For sure.
Okay. Oh my God. I got this text message and it was absolutely, all right. I'm not going to say, okay. I got this message a week after the course.
Okay.
I wrote a letter to my brother, Jose, and dropped it off to his house. I couldn't find the words to say what I wanted on the phone or person. What I take most from Alpha Hippie is this: me being true to myself by showing love unconditionally to myself and to everyone in my life. Giving more of myself because I want to and not because I feel I have to. This is me naturally, and like this, I can find my North Star. Thank you for helping me understand myself. And this is, yeah, I mean, and you think that you're making like a difference, and like think about how profound that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got chills thinking about it. Like the idea that another human actually knows what they want in this life is that's one for the home team.
Yeah, and so there's just things like that that I've just seen in people. So we had 8 people in the group, and I had a call with somebody else today, and I check in with them, and I'm just so proud of them. And they've put in this work, and they've started realizing things. And like you said in the beginning about this self-actualization, they're just walking around life with a new lens and everything.
Mm.
And really starting to make sense of all it is. I was talking to somebody else that is actually doing the next version of the course, and he goes, I was at a family party after we talked last week, and no wonder I thought the things I thought. I was like, great. You see that, buddy? It wasn't you to begin with.
Yeah.
Let's move on. And it's like a whole new empowering world. And to me, like stuff like that is it's the best. I can't explain the level of pride and satisfaction I get to even think that I've been the mirror holder in this dance.
Right. Right. That's a good way to put it. Holding the mirror. I like that. Is there anything, in contrast to that question, is there anything that you find any of these topics that people seem to have a real resistance to? Like where do people like really like reject it, or because we cope in a lot of different crazy ways, and typically like for me, if there's something I really should do, like we were talking about this resistance, like I'm wondering if there's any part of the curriculum that's been brought up that people actually like you're finding people really do have a resistance toward that you have to overcome more than others.
That's a great question. I would say not resistance, but just feeling some sort of glass ceiling is when you're really taking tally of your relationships around you. We get to a point where we talk about so I believe that you should find your mission and your core values, and then I believe that you should have 4 pillars of your life that you are focusing on at all times to live up to your core values and your mission. Because when I'm not taking care of my health or my physical, I'm not taking care of myself mentally, when I'm not taking care of myself spiritually, when I'm not taking care of myself emotionally, you could kiss all this self-awareness shit goodbye. I'll turn into an animal and make shitty decisions. And so it's not enough to just find them. The whole course is about self-care and practices that I have found that put me in the best position to live up to this thing all the time. Because I think the endurance of doing this is the treasure. And so when sometimes it's really resistant to find out that you're in a toxic relationship, or you're in a relationship for reasons that no longer serve you, and you have to walk up to them and have this conversation. I've worked with people on that, and that is by far the most resistance, the thing that's taken extra phone calls, the thing that's taken the supreme accountability to make sure that you're doing well. Because also too, a lot of us see these things going wrong, but believe it or not, having the skill to have conflict or crucial conversations or conversations where there's a lot of emotions on the line is a skill that a lot of people haven't been taught.
Right.
And so I think that area of facing those relationships and being able to have those quote unquote crucial conversations, like the book is called, is probably the biggest resistance a lot of us have, because when we want to end a relationship, the only thing we think about doing is screaming and hanging up the fucking phone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Versus learning how to really articulate what it is that you've come to the realization, and that understanding that this is only your version of the truth, and it may not be their version of the truth, but you could only live by the version of truth that you're having right now. So you're being open to what they have to say and not making what you're saying black and white, no room in between. And that is by far where I've had to have the most extra coaching and the most discussions and the most, going around it in 1,000 different ways to really get people settled into that.
Yeah, and I mean that's a scary thing. Like you're like sounds like talking about major life choices, like major life decisions about to exit relationships or enter different relationships. Like these are not subtle things. And to bring the conversation back to the beginning, like that you and I were talking about, this idea that you have to be willing to own yourself, but the responsibility that comes along with that is that whether your life is successful or not, the squarely falls on your shoulders. There's no longer other places to place blame, which elevates the importance of these major life decisions.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it elevates the importance. Like you really take stock in what you're doing.
Yeah, that's dope. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the audience based on your sort of research into masculine energy and what it means to be a man, or through the course, or anything that we haven't really talked about that you think is kind of particularly relevant?
I just want to say that I hope anyone listening to this, but specifically men in particular, that you just realize that the courage, being courageous and having big balls, or whatever word you want to say to make you feel like you're more of a man, and that male idea is to be able to face these things and rewrite the script. And I think there's nothing that I would bow to another man to, is seeing them just try to do this work, because running from it is so easy. You've been taught to run away from it. Big boys don't cry. You've been taught to run away from this your entire life. And if you could turn around and face this head on, you're facing the biggest bully in the playground of your life. And I hope that I could help anyone facilitate that, course or no course. Just to be able to do that is amazing.
It's probably one of my favorite lines I've heard: to face it and rewrite the script. That's fucking genius. That is definitely like the biggest act of courage that we all have to face on a daily basis. When you, for people that are listening that are interested in the program that you're offering, and how can they get involved with that? I know we have one coming up.
Sure. So alphahippiepodcast.com, there's a post that says masculine, or a tab that says masculine mastery. If by chance you don't find it, you could DM the Alpha Hippie at Instagram. You could even message me personally, Angelo_Sisco on Instagram, Angelo at the alphahippiepodcast.com. Anywhere in those areas, I'm happy to help anyone and walk them through this process. Also, too, if you're listening to this and you have some questions about me and the course that you would like to get straight before you pursue it, just hit me up. I'm an open book and happy to address and talk about anything. I'm trying my best to be the example of courage that I want people to have. So it'd be my pleasure even to share all of my darkness if you'd like that too.
So I will say, I'll piggyback on that. One thing I want to say to the listeners is, I've become a really big proponent in getting coaches and entering these programs in the last couple of years, because one of these, I sort of stumbled upon this old truth about life, which is wherever maturity or discipline fails, add external structure to get the result that you want. So because it's like when somebody takes let's say, Alcohol Anonymous, like an AA course or whatever, because they can't stop drinking, that doesn't make them weak. It means that they needed an external structure to get to the result they wanted, because discipline or maturity failed in their attempt to do so. And so if you're listening to this and you find yourself as somebody that is like constantly living with this low-level malaise like we've been talking about, or constantly struggling to find more identity, then to enter into a course like this, it does not make you weak. It means you're adding external structure to get the result you want. At the end of this course, at the end of next quarter, whether you have the life you want or don't want, nobody's going to give a shit how you got to that conclusion or not. And so if you're having trouble getting there on your own, then probably the next thing you should invest in is something like this. And if you're a listener of this show, it's kind of cool because you get to go through a course with me, because I'm going to be taking it as a student, so we can work through some of our bullshit together. So it's great. It's I just wanted to add that at the end. I really appreciate you taking the time to share some of your insight with us, and definitely wish you the best in this course. I think it's going to be great.
Ricky Alexander, you're one of the coolest motherfuckers on earth. I love doing this shit with you. I would do a show with you every week if we were crazy enough to try it.
Yeah, for sure. Love it. Appreciate it, buddy.
No, thank you for having me, and I'm so grateful that you want to take this course. I'm like humbled and honored to even have you a part of this group, and it means so much to me that you're stepping out and doing this. I feel like this first group is just going to be next level because I'm the teacher, and I will, no matter what I do, I will always have a slightly different level with them. But how amazing is that the people that are taking this course next, you're like side by side with them, and like people are going to look up to that amazingly. And so I can't thank you enough for being a part of this course, because I know it's going to completely add a dynamic that I wouldn't be able to have without you.
Yeah, and you know, like I think it's super important to recognize that, like, because I have a platform and a mic, like, I'm the same kind of human that's working through the same kind of bullshit as everybody else. And if you listen to influencers or thought leaders that preach something and that actually don't live by it, then I would say that their ideas are probably garbage because they haven't stress tested them in any kind of arena that matters. And so, just as a last parting shot here, like, if you're listening to this, like, really take stock in the people that you're getting your ideas from about this life, because if they're not practicing what they preach, they're probably garbage. We'll end with
Agreed.
that.
I like that.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for listening to Lionheart Radio. I hope that the information from today's show will make you fitter, happier, and healthier. For the show notes of this episode and every episode, head to www.lionheartrad.io. Yep, just like Lionheart Radio. And please, if you have the time, head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us to know that we're on the right track in delivering you reliable information and value. As always, feedback is welcomed. If you have any comments on the show or like to suggest a guest, send me an email at rick@luavive.com. That's LUAVIVE.com. Thanks for your support, and we will see you next time.
Bitch, I feel good. Don't I look stupendous? My shine is so endless, and shit you can do to end this. Even when I'm dead, niggas still gon' bump that chip shit. Coke, white, Escalade on cinches for you dipshit. So you won't forget this. Midwest nigga be the coldest. Cleveland is